go ahead and get started. Let's ring this bell and officially start our meeting. So welcome to the Rotary Club of El Paso. Great meeting. I hope everyone's enjoying this beautiful Seattle weather. You know, a couple of days ago, everyone was swimming, and now everyone's wearing their sweaters, and I think I saw a couple of scarves today. That's interesting. But anyway, welcome to the Rotary Club of El Paso. We've got a lot to cover, a great program. And keeping with traditions, I'm going to hand it over to Scott Neodor, who will lead us in invocation, pledge, and four-way test.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. Hope you're having a great day. Would you please join me now in the invocation? Holy Lord, we thank you. Thank you for all the gifts that you give to us. Thank you for life and for health and freedom. Thank you for community. We ask you now, Lord, that you would bless our meeting together as Rotarians. Would you bless each one of us here? And would you bless our efforts to serve our community? Help us to remember the words of Peter Marshall, who prayed this prayer before the U.S. Senate in 1947, but his words are still true. May we not break faith with any of yesterday's promises, nor leave unrepaired any of yesterday's wrongs. Show us what we can do to make this world a better place. We pray this with sincere and grateful hearts. Amen. And now would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do? First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Scott. Always good to see you online, and thank you for participating in these online meetings. We've been having excellent participation, and thank you guys for joining these meetings. A lot to cover, a lot of guests. I'm going to hand it over here to Leah Masters, and I love this series, the pop-up series. If you guys have an idea for a pop-up guest, get in contact with Leah. Thank you, Leah, for taking the lead on this, but it's always fun to see somebody join from our community. It's always a surprise. And Leah, I believe we have a couple of pop-up guests.
Yes, we do. We have two pop-up guests today. So good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Today, I'm pleased to have two pop-up guests. Every September 8th since 1967, we celebrate International Literacy Day. International Literacy Day highlights the importance of literacy to individuals, communities, and society. Representing the El Paso Public Library, I'd like to introduce to you Jack Galindo. He is the library's marketing and customer relations specialist. Welcome, Jack.
Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing? Can you hear me okay? Yeah?
Yes.
Awesome. So what I want to do is to talk a little bit about what the library is doing in terms of literacy and education in El Paso. And, you know, in commemoration of International Literacy Day a couple of days ago on September the 8th is something that we are aware of annually. And we take the opportunity to make sure that our constituents know how important it is to have a literate and educated community. And we've been doing this ever since, you know, at least as long as I've been with the library. I've been with the library now for the last 20 years. So without further ado, I'd like to share my screen if that's possible. And we're going to get into some of the things that we do within the library. First and foremost, I want to remind everyone that we are currently closed in terms of most of our facilities are closed. You know, of course, because of the pandemic, we were not able to continue operating our building because we are very susceptible to things like communicable diseases during this time. Of course, we have a lot of people. We have every year we have between 1.5 and 2 million visits to our libraries, and they're interchanging books. They're, you know, all types of materials. So we have to shut down. However, we weren't able to continue operations digitally, and maybe there were not too many institutions that were prepared to go fully digital in the library, because we have tons of online digital services that are available to everyone. And I try to tell everybody I know right now that there's never been a more or an easier time to get your library card. So if y'all were to visit our website and check under coronavirus borrowing measures, and I did that for lack of a better term, if you scroll down to where it says temporary library cards right now, anybody who lives within the city limits of El Paso can get a library card number just by clicking on that link and filling in the information here. Now, we do require that you live within the city limits to get a free library card. However, once you get your library card, you're able to take advantage of all of these different services that we have. For example, one of the services that I enjoy the most is Hoopla. Now, Hoopla gives you the opportunity to download movies, music, and television. It's much like some of the streaming services that you see online, such as Netflix and Hulu, except that it's free. It's free through your libraries. So if you're hankering for some more home entertainment options, you can access Hoopla free with your library card. All you'd have to do is set up an account with your library card number, and you'd be able to scroll through movies, music, and television. Now, what I like most about music is that it's not a streaming service per se. It's not like Pandora, where you're at the behest of some DJ somewhere. These are actually full albums that you can download to your phone and listen to. So if you have any classic albums or classic bands that you enjoy listening to, chances are we have some of their albums available for free for download here on Hoopla. And the great thing about services like Hoopla is that once you are done with the lending period, it just goes back. It just goes away. You don't have to worry about returning it. So there are no late fees. And just like Hoopla, we have another service called Overdrive and Libby, which allow you to download books. And these are books for all ages. Every member of the family can find something that they like on Overdrive. And you can actually download it. We have ebooks, audiobooks, all types of, we also have magazines and all types of services that you can use for free. These are just a few of the titles that we have available that we have for you guys. So we want you to take advantage of it, tell all your friends, and make sure that everybody is signing up for these services. Now, one of the things that we have been really heavily promoting or making sure that we are providing these options to the community is education, especially education for adults. One of our great programs that we've had here over the last 3 or 4 years is a program called Career Online High School. And what it is, it's a free online high school program that's available for students that are 19 years of age or older. And all they have to do is, as long as they have some type of education beyond the 8th grade, they're able to participate in this program if they were not able to get their high school diploma on time for whatever reason. So these are the requirements to be a part of the Career Online High School: 19 or over, reside in the city, have an EPPL card, which of course now it's the easiest time in the world to get it, have access to a computer and internet at home, and be able to dedicate at least 8 hours of study per week. And what they will do is, once they decide that they want to be a part of the program, they can go to the website, and the website will lead them through some prerequisites. They'll have an opportunity to take a prerequisite course to assess the type of education that they've had in the past. If they have credits from another high school, they'll be able to transfer over. And it's just a really, really great program. It's completely free to the user. It's being sponsored by the City of El Paso and the El Paso Public Library. And like I said, there's no upper age limit at all. If you're over the age of 19, we've had people that are in their late 50s now that have graduated from the program. We've had over 60 graduates now in the last 3.5 years. And many of them have gone on to college and upper higher education. So we're extremely proud of that. They're really great personal stories. So we want to make sure that everyone is aware and everybody knows about it. We also have another great program, which is a GED program that we're working with UTEP on, called the, well, it's actually a program, a GED program for farm workers and their families. And there's actually a stipend that goes along with that. So working through UTEP, they'll be able to get them a stipend to and pay them while they're actually studying to get their GEDs. So these are just some of the programs that we have going on. Of course, once we start up again, once we start, we'll open up our branches, we'll be able to do career, career classes such as ESL, computer. We do GED courses when we're at the library. So we do a lot of educational programs when we are open to the public, and hopefully we'll be able to open here pretty soon. So how are we doing on time?
That should be, I think we're running out of time. Probably, Leah, you're on mute, but go ahead.
I'm sorry?
Sorry, Jack, you're out of time, but we thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you, guys. It's wonderful to be a part of it, and thank you so much for having me.
You're quite welcome. Our second pop-up guest is Rick Carson. Rick is one of the deputy chiefs of the El Paso Fire Department. Since that horrible day 19 years ago, we honored those that were lost their lives on September 11th, 2001. Rick will give us information how the city of El Paso plans to honor those that were lost on September 11th, which is the National Day of Service and Remembrance. Rick?
Thank you, Leah. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me. So I'm firefighter in El Paso, like she said, been on 33 years now. And ever since the morning or the year after 9/11, 2001, we've had a ceremony of some sort, and it's evolved over the years. Our second ceremony we had in 2002 was actually a pretty touching thing. We had 343 sets of bunker gear assembled and laid out on the field at Cohen Stadium for our ceremony, and it was quite a sight to see that many sets of bunker gear. Bunker gear, by the way, is the helmet, boot, and coats that firefighters wear. And to see all those sitting out there in the field, it really brings home how many lives were lost within a span of 32 minutes in the FDNY. Over the course of the years, we've made improvements, made location changes. We had our ceremony downtown at Station 11 for a few years. We outgrew that because of the parking. So in the late 2008, I believe, we moved our ceremony permanently to Station 18 in the Lower Valley. That's in San Jose and Window Wave. We've had it there every year. It's become a combined ceremony with the city, with the County Sheriff's Department, City PD, of course, and the Fire Department. And this year is no different, with the exception of the public is not invited this year. What we are doing, the Fire Department is live streaming the whole ceremony on the El Paso Fire Department official Facebook page. And you can catch that starting tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. We go on the air. We're gonna have the bagpipes, the rifle guard, the color guard, the laying of the wreath, the whole 9 yards. And one thing I wanted to tell you about the Station 18 was picked. We also had a sculpture designated called Rising Stronger. It's based on an actual photograph taken at Ground Zero after the attacks. And Julio Sanchez de Alba was the artist, and they dedicated that sculpture there in 2016. It's a permanent memorial there, Station 18. So you're welcome to drive by and see it. It's really quite impressive, quite large. And again, tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, live streaming live on Facebook, the El Paso Fire Department official Facebook page.
Thank you so much, Rick. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's give a big hand to our pop-up guests. Thank you so much. The hoopla, that sounds like something Al Pacino would scream out, hoopla. But that sounds very, very interesting. I'm going to check that out. And Mr. Carson, thank you for that ceremony that you do. And September 11th is a reminder of the American spirit and our resiliency to continue. And thank you so much for honoring them. Folks, it's moving on. I'd also like to recognize, in addition, we'll get to our speaker introduction in a second, but along with our speaker today, We have Major Sterling from Fort Bliss as well, and Staff Sergeant Nicholas Bronbell as well. And I'm not sure if I missed something, but thank you all guests. And if there's any guest that I missed, please go ahead and speak up. But welcome everyone to the Rotary Club of El Paso meeting. So as far as announcements, make sure everyone, I'm going to hand it over to Catherine here in a second, but everybody get something to write down. We're going to write down some important information coming up, some very good pop-up projects that are happening, and just a way to continue our Rotary way of life. So starting off with announcements, I believe, Catherine, you have an announcement for us.
I do. It's an announcement / plea, and it's something that you may have seen for years now. Going on 23 years, the El Paso Community Foundation has been doing something called the Spirit of Giving, and you may have seen it, the tree, the Christmas tree in the malls, where you have a tag that you take off the Christmas tree. On there is a wish of someone who is either a child in foster care, a child at the Reynolds home. Some senior citizens were on there. And then also several years ago, we picked up an organization called the Winchester House. And the Winchester House are gentlemen, boys that age out of foster care at the age of 18 until they can kind of get their footing. Usually they can live there until they're about 23, 24. So at the end of the day, there's not the tree for people to go and get the tags from. And so it's going to be completely virtual. It's been virtual, has been virtual for several years, where you can go online to the Spirit of Giving. You can read individual stories of people and what they're requesting. Like the Winchester House, literally they're requesting towels, soap, deodorant, and backpacks, so that when they do leave, they have, something that they can use that for. People at the Reynolds House, I mean, it's anything from a couple of Matchbox cars to whatever. But the thing is that you have a story to each one. And so what we are asking as the Community Foundation is different organizations to commit to maybe doing 50 tags. But again, you would go to a link online, you would read the story, you would figure, you know what, that's what I want to buy for these people. And you can buy it, and all of that goes to the Community Foundation. The Community Foundation has volunteers, they wrap it and then deliver it to these different organizations. So we're just asking an electric company, Astor, I'm looking at you, we're going to be asking Eddie about that too, the electric company, just different organizations that have people that blissfully still have an income to help out others that don't usually get gifts during the holiday season. So when I get more information on that, I will give it to you. I know that they're meeting this afternoon with Hello Amigo, who is arranging all the links of how to, how many of you have heard of Spirit of Giving or the virtual tree? I feel like several of you have done it before. So it's that same concept. We're just doing it more online because we cannot put the trees in the malls. So, we just thought we'd ask Rotary if that's something that we can all do together at a meeting, and see if that's something we could do.
Excellent. Thank you, Catherine. We'll look into assist, whether if it's a couple of things, great, or if it's a lot of things, even better. But definitely look.
The stories are so sweet; they break your heart. I mean, literally, I just want socks and a pair of slippers. We've got, the Nazareth home, for example, Nazarene home. The one that I did last year was a woman that really wanted to have a bathrobe that went below her knees, but was the material of a towel. And that was her request. They're sweet, and they're so, what we take for granted, so many small things that we take for granted. And so I just get my kids together, and we just go online, and I have them look at different ones, and they find ones that kind of match who they would like to give to, and then we do it all at one time. So it feels good. I think it would feel good as a club to do as well. Or even as all of Rotary in El Paso, we can open that up to all of Rotary.
Absolutely. Thank you, Catherine. Yeah. So easy to bring joy and happiness to somebody, and it's a very humbling thing to do.
Yeah.
Next up, guys, everybody write this down. I mentioned last week about a blood drive, and Ames Davis gave us some pointers on a blood drive. We are set up for a blood drive. This is scheduled, write this down, Friday, September 25th. From 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Or if you're at work, there's also an opportunity Saturday, the following day, September 26th. I believe that's maybe three weeks from now or so. We have a goal of having 30 donors. They'll check, as you donate blood, they'll check the antibodies. and that's part of the service. So I'm going to go, you guys, if you're able to volunteer, I really want to motivate people to volunteer. Send a chat to Arlene, an email, or in our meeting here, and we'll sign you up to donate blood. So this is strictly for El Paso Rotary Club. We're partnering also with our Rotary Club. Great opportunity to do something Rotarian, and we're going to have our Rotary banners there. I'm very excited about this. So write it down, Friday, September 25th and Saturday 26th. The next pop-up project, I really want to encourage and motivate everyone to participate. And in addition to learning today what hoopla is, we're going to learn another word. It is called FOMA. No, FOLO, excuse me. The correct term or acronym is FOLO. Now, if you guys don't know what that is, I had a serious case of FOLO this week. And FOLO stands for fear of losing out. And why am I saying this? Because our pop-up project, we're partnering with the Rotary Club. We are doing a drive for school supplies. The Rotary Club already has 30 backpacks. And we're partnering up with Tornillo Elementary School. Now, why Tornillo? I had a conversation with Brian from the Rotary Club, and we were saying, hey, we need to focus on a school that, the furthest out from the city, maybe Segundo Barrios, the Bowie, everyone focusing on that school. Here's an opportunity to focus on a school that's the furthest out. So we partner up with Tornillo Elementary School. We got on the phone with them. They have 183 students. And as we're on the phone with them, we ask them, out of those 183 students, how many have some kind of need for school supplies? And they told us
3 students.
3. So the reason I'm bringing up FOLO, fear of losing out. Now I want to show you guys, I went to Walmart this week, and guess what? I was afraid that we're going to run out of supplies. Right now, there's some great deals. I'm going to show you guys something really quick. I know we're a little bit behind schedule. You guys don't get too dizzy, but I want you guys to take a look at this. We picked up close to 50 backpacks. These are $3 backpacks. Can you believe? I didn't know $3 backpacks existed. So we got close to 50 backpacks. How about this pretty pink like this? Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that cool? And then even further, how about some pencils? How about some composition books? And then more backpacks. So I think between Rotaract and the ones we picked up so far, I think that's close to 80 backpacks. And guys, we're the Rotary Club of El Paso. We don't do small stuff. So if we have a goal of supplying 183 students, $3 backpacks, making it super easy. Huh?
Good job, Yasser. Very nice.
So all we have to do is make it as simple as possible. You guys, drop a check to the Rotary office. If you can't go to Walmart, let's make it easy. Drop a check today, tomorrow, as early as next week. I might get some more FOLO, fear of losing out, and I'll pick up some more backpacks. Drop a check, make it out to Rotary Club of El Paso, and we'll pick up all the supplies, make it easy. And then we'll get with the Rotaract Club, and we'll go out to the schools and send them out. But it's super easy, guys. I had a conversation with Hector Montoya this morning just to say hello, and very kind, made a gracious donation. So we're going to pick up some more supplies. So I'd like to encourage all of you guys, drop $5, $10. I mean, $3 backpacks, super easy. So that's it. And next up, I'm going to hand it over to Mayela. We're running out of time here, but Mayela, last week we mentioned Rotarian of the Month, and I'm going to hand it over to Mayela to make the announcement of our August Rotarian of the Month. And I think there's an announcement, a further announcement associated with it.
So our Rotarian of the Month and Hero of the Month is our very own Peggy Alowitz. And everyone knows Peggy. Everyone knows how dedicated she is, not only to Rotary, but our El Paso Wine Fest. So first and foremost, I want to thank Peggy for her leadership and with all things Wine Fest. Your ongoing support and tenacity to obtain sponsorships was critical to the overall success of our El Paso Wine Fest last year. I can honestly say that we could not have been successful without your support and your positive outlook. Your energy, your inspiration, and your smile will dearly be missed. I want to thank you not only for serving the El Paso Wine Fest Committee and Rotary, but for also your continued service above South. Peggy, we're going to miss you dearly. Thank you.
For those of you guys that might not be aware, Peggy is going to greener places, and in greener places, I mean out to Maryland, and I think by the end of the month. Is that right, Peggy? But we're going to wish you best of luck.
Thank you very much. That was beautiful, Mael. I appreciate it.
As mentioned previously, Peggy, the Rotary Club is like the mafia. I mean, it's a thing for the rest of your life. So I think Catherine or somebody already contacted the Rotary Club out there in Maryland, so they'll be looking out for you. At this point, I want to hand it over to Mark Mathis and begin our program.
Well, very good. Thank you very much. And I want to, first of all, give a shout out to Hector Montoya. He has been helping me line up some programs, and this is the first of a few. It was a tough task to line up Fort Bliss, and you spent a lot of time, but really appreciate that Hector. Also want to thank Lieutenant Colonel Allie Payne. She's the Public Affairs Officer, assigned a First AD, and that's Armored Division and Fort Bliss. So I think she'll be joining our guest speaker today as well. We sent out Colonel Chad Chalfont's bio, so I won't go through all of that. But just let me go ahead and point out a couple of highlights. He did receive his commission as an armor officer from the United States Military Academy in 1995. So he's been serving since then in various roles of ascending responsibility, and certainly a lot of very interesting commands around the world. So he takes on or serves in a very critical role, being the hub of the command staff there at Fort Bliss. So I know he has some fond stories about El Paso, and he can use those to introduce himself and tell us what's going on at Fort Bliss. So please help me welcome Colonel Chad Chalfont.
To join you. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, that's good.
Okay, great. Really my pleasure and really my honor to speak to you briefly today and share with you about what's going on at Fort Bliss. I think a great introduction. Again, I'm Chad Chalfont. Been in the Army for 25 years. I'm an armor officer. I've served in a bunch of different duty stations, 8 or 9 of them. And I actually reported here to Fort Bliss and started living in El Paso back in the summer of 2018. I'd never been stationed here before. And I'll tell you, I love it here. And my wife, Shannon, and my 2 boys would agree. Shannon and I, we celebrated our 20th anniversary last week, so a big milestone. She works in the local area. And I've got 2 boys, a senior and a sophomore. They both attend Chapin High School, and we all agree we just love El Paso. We just love El Paso. Such friendly people, such great food. We're big fans of the food here in El Paso. Really great schools, and so much to do and so much to offer. And so, that by way of introduction, I just wanted to share that with you all. I thought in speaking with you today that I hope I can give you a sense of who we are here at Fort Bliss and what it is that we do. And I'll start off by saying that I believe the very heart of what we do here at Fort Bliss is we train our soldiers and we build readiness across our combat formations so that we're prepared to fight and win our nation's wars if that's what we're called upon to do. And I've come to find over the last 2.5 years that Fort Bliss and El Paso is a very special place to do just that. We've got one of the largest training areas. I'll talk a little bit about that. We are something called that the Army calls a mobilization force generation installation. And what that means is we prepare literally thousands of soldiers every year to deploy. And so Fort Bliss is a great place to be. And it's even better because we're right here nestled in El Paso. And so I'll just quickly talk through this first slide titled Fort Bliss at a glance, and I'll start on the left-hand side. You know, the Army did a big realignment of its bases back in the mid-2000s, and El Paso and Fort Bliss was a big beneficiary of that. In the last 15 years, the Department of Defense has invested over $6 billion with a B in building up the infrastructure. And what you see in the middle of the slide is the layout, is what's really a large garrison area that's smack dab in the middle of El Paso. And we really wouldn't have it any other way. On the left-hand side, 1,300 new homes were built on the installation. And I'm sure all of you saw increased home construction in the local area that went alongside of that. We have over 30,000 soldiers assigned to the installation. We employ a civilian workforce that's over 11,000. And one of the great things about the greater El Paso area is it supports a lot of our military veterans live in this area, over 80,000 of our veterans there. We've got 50,000 military dependents and some of the largest facilities on the installation. So those are some statistics. And on those right-hand signposts, a total supported population of 175,000 people, a training area that's 1.2 million acres, the largest in the United States Army, about the size of 3 Rhode Islands. We've got a great safety record here at the installation, and we either directly or indirectly contribute to about well over 150,000 jobs in the local area. And so that bottom thing that says rank number 1, military value assessment, when we talk about Fort Bliss, the DOD sees this as a very high value investment that they've made over the past 15 years. And so much of that is because of what we can do here at Fort Bliss and how we are integrated with the El Paso community. So that's at a glance. And if you don't mind, we'll move to the next slide here. And I'll talk about, with well over 30,000 soldiers, we've got a really interesting and great array of organizations. And I'll go through this slide and kind of orient you, and this kind of explains what we do. And I'll start in the upper left-hand corner and work our way around clockwise. And so Fort Bliss and El Paso are home to America's Tank Division, the only tank division in the United States Army. It has about 17,000 soldiers in the division with 3 armored brigades, a combat aviation brigade, an artillery brigade, and a sustainment brigade. It's one of the Army's 10 numbered divisions with a tremendous amount of combat power, and it's ready to deploy at a moment's notice anywhere to accomplish our assigned missions overseas. But it would be kind of a temptation just to get stuck on the 1st Armored Division when we think about Fort Bliss, because there's so much more. In the upper right, we have the Joint Modernization Command. That command tests much of the cutting-edge technology that the Army is going to put in the hands of soldiers in the next 2, 3, or 4 years. And our ability to conduct testing, whether it's here or at other installations, is run by the Joint Modernization Command. Some of you may know that the NCO Leadership Center of Excellence, what used to be called the Sergeant Major's Academy, that's been here well over 3 decades, training our most senior non-commissioned officers and preparing and educating them for positions of increased responsibilities across the Army. And then the 32nd Army and Air Missile Defense Command. You all may know that for a long period of time, Fort Bliss was the home to the ADA, and our roots still remain firmly, we're firmly rooted in the air defense. A lot of that is because we can shoot so many of our weapon systems north of El Paso in our training area. The 5th Armor Brigade, that big A patch that you see there is kind of blocky. That is a brigade that trains National Guard and Reserve component units to deploy, and they train thousands of these soldiers, whether it's to deploy to the Middle East, to Asia, or to Europe. And then the Army has some of the capabilities that you see in mini installations. We've got the William Beaumont Army Medical Center, the command for that. Some of you, I'm sure, have seen the very large hospital. Perhaps we could talk about that later, but that's scheduled to open up early next year. We've got a signal brigade, a chemical battalion, and a host of other organizations, all that train here, live here, and prepare for their potential wartime missions. And then for the Fort Bliss organizations on the bottom row, on the bottom right, I just would highlight that for many of our interagency groups, the federal government entities that provide security to the American Southwest, many of their headquarters are here operating out of Fort Bliss. It's in a great central position to help do what our nation needs us to do in the Southwest. And then finally, on the bottom left, we have some other interesting organizations. Like, there's an interesting fact. I'll highlight that the German air defense forces and the Japanese air defense forces, their training sites where those formations train are here at Fort Bliss. And a lot of that's because they simply don't have the capabilities in their own countries, and so they come here. But that's kind of a snapshot, a tank division, some heavy hitting commands, all that combine to a great team of teams that trains our soldiers, that builds readiness so that if called upon, we can deploy and fight and win our nation's wars. I'll move on to my final slide, and I just want to kind of really focus on how I believe that Fort Bliss and the community of El Paso are linked together. In that blue box, you can see that, we have well over 35,000 soldiers. We've got 50,000 family members. So well over 80,000 soldiers and their families live here in El Paso, and over half of them live off post, in El Paso with you. And that means a lot to us, particularly because my experience just in the last 2 years, I've never seen an installation, an Army post, where there's such a great and large city right outside the gates. And I can speak from experience with my subordinates that with whom I've served over the past couple of years. It's just phenomenal, whether we're living on the installation or especially off the installation, what El Paso and the community have to offer. I'll focus a little bit also on the gold or yellow box. And here I just want to highlight that Fort Bliss and its units support a wide range of missions every year. Some of these are no-notice deployments. As a brigade commander in 2019, I participated in one of those to Europe. And some of these are planned rotational deployments. Right now, the installation has soldiers that are deployed in Asia, that are deployed in the Middle East, and that are deployed in Europe. And I'll say that we spend a lot of time here at Fort Bliss and in El Paso getting ready to deploy, but we also spend time away from our families. And some of this time that we spend away from families is training. Some of it is providing support to missions right along the southern border. And some of these are in response to needs in other communities. For instance, natural disaster response, like a hurricane support. And what I'll say personally, as a soldier who has deployed out of Fort Bliss, it is so great to have my family live in a community that's safe, that's supportive, and that has so much to offer. And as a soldier coming back, it's so great to come back to a community that is not only welcoming, but has so much to offer. And, I'd like to point out that, at least from my perspective, I think El Paso is a very safe community. It's a great place for my boys to go to high school. And I really never give the safety and welfare of my family a second thought. And that's because we live here with you guys here in El Paso. And so I'd like to conclude my remarks just by, on behalf of the commanding general and our teammates here at Fort Bliss, just to say thanks. Thanks for what you do in supporting this installation. And thanks for an organization like the Rotary Club, who does so much to support our community and touches, I'm certain, our families. And personally, I'll say thanks to you and the El Paso community for taking care of my family while I was gone on a deployment. And so I'll leave it at that and just kind of wrap up with, that's my effort to kind of give you a sense of Fort Bliss at a glance, who we are and what we do, a sense of what our organizations are and what their purposes are, and my thoughts on our connection, a very important and what I believe to be strong connection to the El Paso community. And so I'll leave it at that, and I'm happy to take any questions or I await. Thank you.
Well, Colonel, thank you very, very much. Appreciate all of that. That was a great 101 and a reminder for all the things that you all are involved in here, and that very tight connection that we have. We always say, Fort Bliss goes with El Paso, and El Paso goes with Fort Bliss. So very important. I'm curious with the state of affairs in across the globe and pressures on budgets and things like that, and with maybe announcements of troop withdrawals in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. How do you see that impacting Fort Bliss and the missions that you carry forth here? And is there anything that we could do to help that?
Mark, thank you so much for the question. The announcement of the troop withdrawal is a very recent one. Our initial assessment is that that announcement, it doesn't impact our current deployments, the soldiers that are currently there. We have been blessed over the past years to have a tremendous amount of resources from the Department of Defense to train and get better every day. I don't have a picture of what lies ahead for the next year, but I can assure you that Fort Bliss and our units will make every good use of whatever the taxpayers give us, and we take very seriously the requirement to make sure every soldier is as ready as he or she can be if we're called upon to deploy. So I really appreciate that question. Thank you.
Any other questions? Guys, don't be shy. You don't get to be face-to-face with the Colonel Chief of Staff of Fort Bliss and 1st Armored Division very often. So, hey, Colonel, could you talk a little bit more about the Modernization Command? I mean, that's something that we've had as a theme too here, kind of the future of everything. And I realize that has gone through a lot of iterations and evolution here over the last, decade or so. And I'm just curious, what are the types of things that they're testing for the future of America's soldier? And what are some of those things that you've adopted even recently, already into daily use?
Well, it's a great question. The Army has put a lot of thought and energy into how it's going to modernize, let's just say, over the next decade. And they have really focused in on a number of systems that we seek to, develop, test, and field to our units. If you think about the equipment that we currently have, people would talk about in the 1970s and 80s, the Big Five, the M1 Abrams tank, the M2 Bradley, the infantry fighting vehicle, the Apache helicopter, the Patriot missile defense system, and then I'm forgetting the fifth one, but it'll come to me. And so we have a similar focus in terms of developing new capabilities that will allow us to achieve overmatch against potential adversaries. Some of that is about a ground combat vehicle. Some of that is about longer range artillery fires. Some of it is about improved communications, command and control. And so there are, in addition to working on those specific projects, there's been a big reorganization, and the Army has brought in leaders from different specialties and created cross-functional teams. And what they develop, those cross-functional teams, gets fed to the Joint Modernization Command. And what the Joint Modernization Command does is they test that equipment. And what they seek to do is be extremely agile and iterative in their testing. And so they'll take a piece of gear, let's say it's a radio, they'll do a test in the field, they'll get immediate feedback, they'll send that feedback to the engineers, and those engineers will make some modifications, and they'll kick it back out to the Joint Modernization Command for another test. And so what ends up happening is, instead of waiting, 5, 6, 10 years to see if it's going to work for the soldiers, the Joint Modernization Command is all in on making sure that the testing and the feedback to the developers occurs. And so it's an extremely complex process. We've got a well-established and highly expert team that kind of runs that for the Army Futures Command and for the Army. And we're happy as heck to have them here. Sometimes we get a chance to test capabilities, and other times it goes to other units, but they're great partners, great teammates, and we're happy to have them here on the installation.
Excellent, thanks.
I have a question. What is Fort Bliss doing to keep the soldiers safe during this time of COVID?
I'm really glad you answered that, or you asked that question, excuse me. I work for the commanding general, Brigadier General Eichberg, and we protecting our soldiers and their families from COVID has been his number one priority since about March 13th. I think that's the date that we anchor in. We address the health protection of our soldiers. The commanding general addresses it at least twice a week. So there's constant dialogue and there's constant sharing of information with the El Paso community, so that we're all on the same sheet of music and that we understand what the threat is. And it's certainly been a tremendously stressful time for Fort Bliss and for El Paso as we look online and we see the ebbs and flows of the cases. We take very seriously our mission to safeguard our soldiers and their families. One of the things that we are extremely vigilant about is wearing masks. When I sat down, I took off my mask just so I could talk to you guys, but we are wearing masks. We monitor our soldiers and we monitor our places where we gather, for instance, our commissary shopping facilities, et cetera. And I'll tell you that despite those risk reduction measures, Fort Bliss has been back to work building readiness. In fact, they've been building readiness all along. I was the brigade commander for 2nd Brigade when COVID hit us. I was actually in Europe. I was in Poland, and we were about halfway through getting our stuff over there. And our brigade, 2nd Brigade, they brought us back and they told us to go to Europe, or excuse me, go to the Middle East. And so throughout that entire time, we had a lot of work that we still had to do. And 2nd Brigade isn't the only formation. So we managed to figure out ways to socially distance, to wear masks, to monitor our soldiers, to use testing so that we can accomplish the mission, but at the same time, safeguard our soldiers and our families. And I'll close on answering that question with we've done our very best to have our installation policies mirror those of the El Paso and the decisions that the mayors make. And so, for example, as public spaces were opened up, that's when we opened up our public spaces. And so we found El Paso to be an incredible partner as we've worked through this together. And I know we've learned from El Paso quite a bit. I hope that answers your question. I really appreciate it.
You may have answered this question. This is absolutely a personal question. So I need to reapply for my German passport. I'm a dual citizen, and the Bundeswehr office has not been taking their appointments. And I know that Fort Bliss is open, but I don't know if there is a different tier of general public being able to make appointments again, or might you know? And if not, that's fine. It's a phone call anyway.
What I don't know, but our public affairs officer, Lieutenant Colonel Allie Payne, she's in the room.
Oh.
She'll, you know, as this wraps up, you guys can connect and she can help answer the question.
I would love that. I've got the two names of the guys I need to meet too.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know, and she may not know, but we'll work to find out what the policies and procedures are for you.
Okay, dankeschön.
All right, guys. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Colonel Chaffant, thank you so much for speaking here at the Rotary Club of El Paso. Really enjoyed this program, and I really like your comments on the community that we have and the partner that you guys are, and that your family feels safe here. And it's very interesting that after military personnel retire, they find El Paso they wonderful, and they stay here. They have kids here, their family, and great partners to have in our community. Thank you so much for everything you do.
It's my pleasure. My honor to be able to speak with you guys. Thank you.
Let's give a big hand to our guests, Colonel Chaffant and Lieutenant Colonel Allie Payne, and some of our guests, Major Lloyd Sterling and Staff Sergeant Brombell. So let's give a big hand to our guests. Thank you so much for speaking with the Rotary Club of El Paso. Next week's program, we have Alan Russell with Tecma Group. This is related to the manufacturing group. It's going to be very interesting to see how COVID has impacted them, or what else he has to share with us, but it should be a great program next week. Remember, guys, if you're able to drop off a check or school supplies for Tornillo Elementary, please move on that very quick. If you have a sense of FOLO, fear of losing out, don't lose out on this opportunity to get some school supplies for these students. I'll check in with Arlene in a couple of days, and I'll say I'll go to Walmart and pick up some more material. So far, we have 80 backpacks, over 200 pencils, close to 200 composition books. So I just need some checks to start flowing through the Rotary Club of El Paso. Get with Arlene on that. Also, sign up for the blood drive we have September 25th and 26th. That's Friday, Saturday, looking to have 30 donors. So here's an opportunity to do some Rotarian stuff. And thank you guys so much. So great to see you guys. We'll see you next week. I'm going to hit this bell. And remember, Rotary opens opportunities. Thank you so much.
Don't forget your polling questions.
We have polling questions.
Yeah, you had them up. Yeah. So
Might have some time. We still have a couple of minutes. Should we kick them off, or?
Can you see them? You can't see the results?
I saw them.
I don't see those.
Okay.
Mine won't submit. I have them, but they won't submit. I don't know if that matters.
Oh, you have to fill out all of them, Catherine.
Oh, okay.
Make sure you scroll down.
I
Yeah.
get you.
You had the results, Arlene. Did you end up taking them off? Okay.
I relaunched it again.
Okay.
All right. Well, maybe if we could read them out loud, and who's a good person to read them out loud? I still don't see them myself.
Okay. So what's the proper term for a U.S. Army soldier serving in an armored unit? Is it dogface, Mustang, soldier, or jarhead?
Oh, I didn't have jarhead. Yeah, I did.
I put jarhead just because I was thinking about the cartoon.
Well, I think you would either be soldier or tanker. We had been given the term tanker, so most of the armored unit guys, you call them tankers, but officially they're all soldiers. Jarheads are the Mustang, or are the Marines. Sorry. Second, what is a historic motto of 1st Armored Division and why? We have Hell on Wheels, Old Ironsides, Mad Dogs, Yellow Jackets. That one should be pretty obvious. You guys should get that one as a
Yeah,
gift.
that one should be really easy.
Old Ironsides. Number 3, what is the primary weapon within an armored brigade commander's arsenal? Is it the howitzer, the Patriot missile, the Stryker mobile gun, or the Abrams tank? And then, I'm not sure, we're waiting on the answers. That one would either be the soldier or the Abrams tank that the soldier drives. How many different installations does Fort Bliss connect with? Is it 2, 3, 4, or 5?
All right.
I believe the correct answer is 4. I lost it here, but because you've got White Sands, you've got Biggs Army Airfield, you've got Holloman, got Fort Bliss. How many acres does Fort Bliss occupy? 276,000, 898,000, 1.278 million. Oh, people did click it. Or 1.726 million. Most everybody got it right. 1.278 million acres. Thank you.
All right. Does that conclude the polling questions?
Yep, that was it.
All right, guys, a little bit of a trivia there. Next week, if you guys are interested, join 11:30. You know, we'll chat, we'll play a game or something, hang out. You know, might be too early for a drink, but always glad to talk to you guys and hear you guys what's going on with your lives. So remember, drop off a check, school supplies, sign up for the blood drive. And thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys next week. Peggy, congrats. We're gonna miss you.
Bye, Peggy.
Thanks, Peggy.
I'll be here for a few more weeks.
Okay.
Good.
Maybe we should
Thank
do a
you.
social distance cocktail. And yeah, sir, I love that you always wear a jacket at these meetings, at home, in front of the fireplace.
You know, it's the only time for me to wear adult clothes. I mean, I'm not going anywhere. I don't have any meetings. It's just, you know, shorts and t-shirt after this or before this.
Yeah, you got your big boy shirt on. That's nice. Peggy, have
Yep.
a great
Yes, well, thank
time.
you very much. Enjoyed it very much.
Thank you, Catherine.
Jimmy, good to see you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.